there mainly in the Jenkins. Okay, the three things. One, we talk about the continuous integration, right? Now, the continuous integration means what? It's pretty simple. See, if you don't understand the use case of a Jenkins or of any of the tool which you are going to use, you won't be able to implement or come up with your own ideas, right? Now, when I talk about the Jenkins use case, what does it say? It says, like, let's say that if I talk about the first use case, which is a continuous integration, so what does it say? That if, let's say that if you are working for a big application, okay, you have this some application which is like quite complex, quite big. Now your application has to run or has to go through a lot of integrations as well as lot of code quality check, right? So that any developer, he or she goes into their local environment, does those code quality checks, does perform those test integrations and those things, and then going forward, they go and they merge the code, okay, into the GitHub repository. Now, this means what? That there will be one integration server or there will be one centralized repository where developer is testing the code and creating a build, right? Means they don't need to wait until the build completes for some other developer or for some other people. So means we have 8 integrations, and those 8 integrations are divided among you guys. Now for those each 8 integration, there will be 8 different build with the 8 different test cases and the things which you guys will be creating for yourself. Okay. So you don't have to wait for any other people that or any other person that, hey, let him finish this code and then I will test mine. Right. So you don't have to do that. That is basically the continuous integration. In those kind of scenarios, that works, right? Now, in that case, again, if your build fails, so what happens? You will immediately go and you will immediately look into your build and those stuff. Okay. So anywhere where you have to basically merge a lot of code together, or you have to do the integration of a lot of code together, at that point of time, you come up to and you basically put the Jenkins integration successfully. Okay. Now, another important one is the continuous deployment or the continuous delivery. Now, when I talk about the continuous deployment or continuous delivery, there are two things to note here. The first thing is in the any kind of a scenario when we say that if your developer commits the code, okay, if your developer comes in and they commits the code into your branch using a Jenkins automatically CI build pipelines or those things, what will happen? Developer will, as soon as your developer will commit the code, okay, it has pushed the code. You remember we create and we review the PR, we raise a PR is what? Pull request, right? So developer has to raise a pull request to make sure that all the changes which are there, those have been reviewed and validated, and once developer got the approval for that PR, then it can be merged into the master branch, right? Now with that master branch, you go and you create a build, you go and you create a any kind of artifact or whatever things you wanted to do. So means when you have the ability to code, build, test, deploy in a single pipeline, till the production environment, it is called your continuous deployment. I will repeat this statement again. So when you have a ability to code, build, test, deploy, okay, when you have those 5 things to do within a single pipeline, until your prod application or until your production application is up and running, you basically go ahead and you do what it's called as the continuous deployment. Means if you go further, if you, so remember, like what happens that you directly don't go and put any application into the production. What you do, you basically come up and you basically put your application into the UAT. First you do that things in your dev environment, right? Everything you test on a dev environment, and then the things, then you create a UAT environment. UAT environment means a user acceptance testing, right? Which is exactly the replica of your production, but that's not a production. That still says that we are in a UAT, means we are in a testing phase, where we say that your application or your environment would be exactly, put your environment exactly looks like the same, in the production also, and your user basically they review those changes, they look over those things, and then they accept those, uh, whatever the changes and the things are needed, they accept those. Okay, so in those kind of scenarios also, you again do the continuous deployment. Why? Because a continuous delivery, because your integrations, your build which comes in, they all are part of a different deployments, they all are part of a different uh, sorry, they, the different builds which are there, they are deployed into your UAT server and tested out, and accordingly you test it out. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question. In UAT, if it is the performance is good, then we are replacing with the production environment. Then during the transition, the current uh, uh, system will be disturbed, right?
During the transaction, what will be disturbed?
The current whatever the production environment, it will be disturbed, right?
No, why it will be disturbed? Like again, so your UAT environment is something which is your user acceptance training, okay, which is your user acceptance testing basically. Now, what does it say? That user acceptance testing, that you go and you check that your environment looks like. So let's say you are creating Amazon.com application. Now, Amazon.com application will be first tested into the UAT. UAT means it will look, that is the environment which exactly looks like a prod. Means it's not your production, but it will exactly look like your prod. When I say that looks like a prod, means customer will see exactly the same kind of a things on that dashboard, or on the Amazon.com, which he is going to see in the production, but he or she also know that it is yet not live. So if changes needed, if any bug fixes are there, enhancements are there, they can be fixed up at that point of time.
Yeah, my question is when it is UAT things is finalized, then we have to replace the fraud environment.
Yeah, so
Then the
well, yeah, so you're, go ahead, sorry.
then maintenance they will take maintenance time for transition of the UAT to fraud environment.
Right. So it's basically, so again, in the kind of a Jenkins or kind of a CI/CD environment, there is nothing concept of a maintenance time and those things. Okay. Now you don't go and you shut down the application and those things until it is really needed, or until some of the services has to be restarted. Like if you are using a web app, so probably you will go and you will restart a Tomcat service and these things. That's it. Nothing else. Now the point here is that what you do, you just have to copy the bits, right? Means bits means you just have to copy the code from the UAT to the production. That's it. Nothing else you have to do to create your replica. Because let's say it's running on a EC2 instance, you will take the AMI of a EC2 instance and of the AWS EC2 instance which is running for the UAT, and you will spin up a new instance for a production with the same configuration, same details. Now you will just copy the code and the things, and you will put those configurations again into the new production server, and you start running it. Its application is up and running. Where maintenance window comes in, let's say you are doing some enhancement, now you add some new feature. Let's say that Amazon.com, they added a grocery shop, right? Now once they add a grocery shop, so what happened at Amazon.com? Down hua tha. Amazon.com never went down, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did it went down, guys? No, right? Big Basket came with a Big Basket daily feature. Did it went down? No. Ola came with Ola Outstation. Then it went down. It they never populated that notice, right? That, oh, we are coming up with some new feature. So we will be basically creating your, we will be making the application down for so and so hours. That is a loss, right?
Yeah, thanks.
Did I answer your question now, Nitin?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So basically, there's no such concept of a maintenance window nowadays in the kind of a DevOps environment, and it's all like just go with a live to live and live mode only everything, and those features and those changes are done using a CI/CD. So definitely, you can consider the beta testing as the same side as a UAT. So that's not a, like, definitely there are minor differences between those, but almost near about same only. Okay. Now the other one is about the task automation, right? Example again, that if I say that if you want to do the installation or upgrade, which requires 100 plus steps to perform some activity, right? So you will do manually all those things. So what will happen? Let's say you have to restart a Tomcat server, then you have to make some changes into the files, and you have to capture the logs from the Catalina.out, and then you have to create a dashboard out of it. Now you have to do this activity over a multiple servers. Now doing this activity over a multiple servers manually can make or can lead to a lot of human errors, right? Which probably the other ones cannot. Means other one cannot means what you will do, you will take a Jenkins file, you will write down all the steps with the code, perform this activity, now run it with the Jenkins. So Jenkins will take a less time to do this. The second thing is it's not a manual activity, everything will be recorded and will be changed as and when needed. So there are three important use cases for a Jenkins. The first one is the continuous integration, which we talked about the lot of integration and those things. Then we talked about the continuous delivery and the deployment, and the third one is about the task automation. So I hope there could be multiple there could be more requests and more things, but I believe all those overall like goes and lies around the same category only. But definitely based on the requirement and the things, the category can be changed or can be different. But these are the three which are the major ones which we have discussed just now. Any questions so far?
So there will be three kinds of use cases you're saying in Jenkins.
I'm sorry, can you come again?
In Jenkins, do you have these three kind of use cases like continuous integration, continuous delivery, and task automation?
Yeah, like I just gave you the example of a use case. I'm not saying
Okay.
which it will execute. So it is just it could there could be more, but these are the three which plays a major role. So for which I gave you the example. Now, guys, the thing is that it's not only the Jenkins. Okay, it's not that there is one CI/CD tool, only the Jenkins. Can anyone tell me the other CI/CD tools which are available in the market?
Blue Ocean,
Okay, pretty older one.
Circle CI.
Yeah. So we have a Travis, we have a Circle CI, we have a GitLab CI/CD, we have a Bamboo CI. Now the point is that now most of the organization they also go and they use a GitLab CI/CD. Okay, sorry, GitLab CI/CD. Rather than using this, they go and they use GitLab CI/CD. Now definitely Jenkins is one of a good and the best option and the oldest one for the CI/CD, but there are other options in the market which are available, so anyone can use anything, right? Now, GitLab is what? GitLab is again one of a full featured CI/CD capable software or a module, right? Where you can go and you can build, test, and deploy everything without any external requirement. Means you don't need a Jenkins for that, right? So GitLab also does give those solutions. Now GitLab again comes with a lot of different flavors and those things. So I'm just giving you an overview of that. Okay. I'm not saying that GitLab is good or Jenkins is good or what is good or what is bad. Again, I don't say anything as a good or bad without having any reason. And I feel that both have their own importance and both can be fit into a use cases accordingly. Similarly, Circle CI is what? Circle CI is again, this is some of a tool, okay, which is basically for the continuous integration only, right? It's not for a CD. Circle CI is again for a continuous integration only mostly. And this is what it can be again used using a GitHub or using a Bitbucket where any code changes or anything triggers. So it can basically go and it can integrate that, right? It can start that. Likewise, we have a Bamboo, likewise, we have a Travis and those CIs also. So those are some of what are Jenkins alternatives. Okay. So those are some of our Jenkins alternatives which we have discussed right now. Now, okay. Now moving on to the next. So Now, if you talk about further, so I have, okay, let me just put in the document only. That is missed. Now, so now the another important thing is that what is Groovy? Does anyone has heard about the Groovy or these things? That what is Groovy? How does Groovy works? Or anyone tried to write about or learn about Jenkins file? Let's move on to that.
I haven't used it, Sachin, but I've heard about this Groovy scripting with the SOAP UI for the SOAP projects.
Right. Right.
Groovy is basically used for Java object development, right? Java language. Use it for Java language, right?
Yep. It's basically used for the Java one only. That's absolutely right. Okay, great. Now, okay. Now that's absolutely right. Now, the important thing is when I talk about Groovy, right? So let me share the document with you guys. Okay, so you're able to see the document.
Yeah.
Great. Now, when I talk about Groovy, right? Groovy is what? Groovy is a product from the Apache. Okay, Groovy is a product from the Apache where it says that Apache Groovy is your object-oriented programming language. Okay, means again it follows your OOPS concepts. Now, again, as it follows your OOPS concept, it uses for a JVM platform and these things. So you do have a dynamic language here. Okay, you do have a dynamic language feature. You do have a lot of other features which takes the is which draws and the uh, features from the other coding languages, okay, which can be used to orchestrate your pipeline in the Jenkins. Now, Groovy, again, as it as it compels well or as it like mixes well with the Java language, so definitely Groovy follows the syntax mostly similar to the Java. So if you forget syntax, like when writing with the Groovy or something, so you can write your Java syntax. So that's absolutely same. Like either go with the Java or go with the Groovy syntax. So mostly they are same. So people who are well versed with Java and those things, for them Groovy will be very, very easy. For people like me who are more versed good with the Python or a shell scripting or those things, for us it takes a little time because we do have worked or experience on the Java, but it's a long time. So definitely it will take time. Now, Groovy can also be used as one of your scripting languages for Java, right? And you can call those Groovy scripts in Java and those things, which can help you to put the things together. So this is a quite overview about the Groovy, right? Now the point is that why to use Groovy? Now again, why cannot we use any other languages for creating a pipeline files? Like why does Jenkins allow or option Jenkins have options to write a Groovy only? Now again, having said that, Groovy is what an agile and dynamic language. So when I say that Groovy is an agile and dynamic language, it means that it basically allows you to do the seamless integration with any of your existing Java objects or libraries and those things, right? Groovy is your Java without types, means you don't have to define a basic data types when you are writing a Groovy, like your integer, float, string, and those stuff. You don't have to define that. Groovy will take care of all those things automatically. In Groovy, the for loop is very, very concise and like you easier to read. Means when you use a for loop in a Groovy, so it basically pretty simple. Okay, and also it supports the parameter values. So when I say this for loop part here, So Groovy has this for x in 1.5 and println x without having doing anything. Okay, getting it? Now again, you can define the collection of the arrays, you can define the other collections and those stuffs in the Groovy with the operators and those things, which doesn't really matter because that is something which can be taken care. Now, definitely there are other methods and other things which we can use with the Groovy. Okay, and also we have can do the exception handling, means whatever things, whatever stuff which you can do with the Java, all those things probably you can do with the Groovy. Means the Groovy benefit will be that you can write the same function with the less code. You can write the same function with the less code. Okay, now when I talk about Jenkins pipeline, right? Now Jenkins pipeline is what? It's basically like one of our approach in a Jenkins or something where you, sorry, where you can create an automatic jobs or anything. Okay, where you can create a setup and these things. Now another important thing here is that you can also uh, like, so it came up as a feature. Okay, it came up as one of a feature in the Jenkins pipeline where we say that okay, Jenkins pipeline is just a feature, and it has been embedded with the Groovy script and those things where it provides a lot of pipeline libraries and pipeline references and those things, and accordingly it can be taken care. Now Jenkins pipeline can be created in two ways. Okay, one is like either you can go ahead and create with a Blue Ocean or something with the UI part. Okay, or the other one is you can write a Jenkins file and put it into your repository. Okay, that is another way. Now with all those things, you have to make sure that you know about Jenkins file in a well proper way. Now when I say that you know about Jenkins file, so Jenkins file is what? Like creating a Jenkins file is not a big deal, but it is a normal text file, okay, which contains your definition of a Jenkins pipeline and these things. Now, how does it contain the definition of these things? So I'll show you here. Now, if you see this diagram, okay, with this diagram, it says that okay, you create a Jenkins file which contains the definition of Jenkins file and the source control. Now it has a pipeline, it has an agent, stage, and these things, those steps. And you see that it says that not every pipeline will definitely will not have the same stages. Okay, but it is good to have them in the stages and these things. Okay, so you can define like this the pipeline. Now the point is that you also have to enable, or you have to see that how you can put the scripted part. Okay, sorry, the Groovy part and those things also. So let's me move back to this. Yeah. Now, when you talk about the Groovy script, right? When you talk about the Groovy script, so when you write a Groovy script, so you define here the shebang line. Okay, you define the shebang line, which tells you that this is the environment of a Groovy script. Now, in this, in the pipeline files, okay, they don't have that shebang line. Means in the pipeline, you will write the pipeline directly. Okay, you don't do anything. Mainly with the declarative pipeline. But with the scripted pipeline, you have to configure everything. So when you talk about a Groovy script, okay, when you talk about a Groovy script or something, so if you have to write a scripted pipeline, so you have to define each and every thing. Now how it is, that works, I'll show you. Okay, before that. So this is one thing. This is a scripted pipeline example, and this will decide where the code has to be executed, means on which machine where this node is there. Okay. Now, now let's say we have multiple stages in your build. Okay, let's say you have multiple stages in your build. Now for each stage you have to define the some or other value. So can anyone tell me that we have already discussed though, but anyways, let me put up here right now. To define a multiple stages in Jenkins, okay, to define a multiple stages in Jenkins, you write the script like this: stage, steps, stages, stage, and step. Okay, stages, stage, and step. Stages will tell how many stages are there. Stage will talk about their own stage which they are which they have created. So the stage will talk about that, and steps will talk about what has to be done there. Everyone clear with this? That how can we create this? Now next is the parallel stages. Parallel stages means when you have a nested stage. Okay, within one stage you have to create another stage like this. So stage is a parallel. In steps you went and you write parallel and you have given some task. Okay, you have given some task means stages in the parallel, they can declare another stages also for that particular parallel block. Okay, now steps is something which is a very core and a very important part of a pipeline, because pipelines are what they are made up of, what multiple steps. Those are steps are what, those are the commands which you run it, which you perform it for the execution and those things, right? So you have to make sure that steps are always written in a proper way like this. Now let's say if someone has any timeout or something, okay, if you have timeout and retries, how will you put that? Any idea? Timeout and retries, how will you put that? Any idea?
By using sleep.
Okay, that is one way you can do that, definitely. What next? So yes, by sleep or by like putting a timeout itself, you can write a timeout. Means you have created your pipeline here, you have written a stage development. In that steps, there is a method known as retry, okay? And you give the number of times, so it will retry for that method. Mean this will keep on trying this script until it is failing. And after that, there is a timeout method where you define a timeout for the, and you say the unit, and let's say you say that time it out if after the 10 minutes. Means this script will run only for 10 minutes and then it will not run. Okay. Clear? Now next is triggers. Triggers are something which are defined in the Jenkins, and which are basically like you can trigger a cron job, okay? You can trigger a poll SCM, okay? And when to trigger it, okay? What are the different post build sections? What are the different environment build, recording tests and artifacts, sending notifications, Slack notifications, all this kind of a code you have to write down. How? I'll show you. So like if you say come up with this cron, now this cron is what? It accepts a normal styling in these things and it creates here. Okay. Means if I have to configure the job in a cron, so I have to go with this triggers and those things. Okay. Poll SCM means it has to keep on polling SCM. So what I have done here, agent any trigger this. What this trigger will do, it will keep on polling this particular server at every 2 minutes. Okay. And it will say stage hello world and echo step hello world. Clear? Whole SCM part clear? Okay. Now next is when. When is means that when a particular command or when a particular thing will perform the given action, perform the given thing. Okay, when it will happen. For that, you already have this when this any of branch developed branch test. Then follow this stage. Similarly, likewise, you prepare a post build action. I'll just give you a quick time to review this post build also for a minute.
Sachin, what is the syntax for when? And it's like condition you're giving?
Sorry, syntax.
Like, is it a condition that you're giving when?
Yeah, when condition.
Okay.
So we have defined a pipeline, we have defined the stages, steps, and then post is the action. Okay, post is something which is important here. And when always means this action has to be performed always. And now what is that action? That action is to if it is success then this, okay, if it is failure then this, unstable is this, change is this. Means run this job only and only if these kind of three different scenarios happens. Getting?
So these are keywords, right? Failure, unstable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Those are the keywords. Now, likewise, we have a environment variable things. Okay, like you can define environment variable using a keyword environment, and then you can define that environment variable, and you can print the environment, or you can use those environment variable. Likewise, we have exception handling too. But you can do a try catch also in Groovy. If you have to record any test and artifacts, record these. You have to collect the results and those things, so you can use this stuff here. Okay. Now let's say that if you want to send out an email notification. So if you say that it's failure, then just send out an email notification. Means if the job has been failed, then trigger this email notification. So in that case, what will happen that you go to the failure, you write mail to, and you write subject and body, and that will trigger the email notification. Getting it? Likewise, we can send out a Slack notification too. Okay. Now,
Also we can add team also, right? For instead of Slack. No.
anything like that. It's just that it should be supporting that. Now, let's say one sample Groovy script. Okay. One more sample Groovy script. If I talk about these are the Jenkins file which we write. Now, this is how you write a Groovy script. Let's say that you will say the shebang line, you will give the package name and you define the function. Okay, and then it says that echo, this is my function in the shared repository and return this. Okay. Or you can also use a Git repository. Okay. You can also use a Git repository and those things, which is basically like accessing the steps, a sort of this, where you can use a Git repository here. Right? That is the Git URL, and that is another method. Okay. And you can call this method and these things and this code. Okay. You can call this using or from a scripted pipeline using this. So if you say, or if you want to see that how a complete Jenkins Groovy script looks like. Okay, so I'll show you. So like this, a complete Groovy script looks like, where you have a library, which you say that, okay, you have used a github.com shared library. We have a pipeline, okay, where we say that this is a pipeline agent with a label and label name. We have the options where we define the timeouts and the anything known as a build discarder, calling the stage. And now those Jenkins file part will be there. Each and every stage will do whatever the action they has to do. And then you will do the post testing for the success, failure, and change. Okay. And that's it. That is how your Groovy script is there. Exactly like Jenkins or exactly like YAML, like you write YAML, or exactly like the normally Jenkins file which you write like that. Okay. It's just that you basically put your libraries and those things which you have to use it here. Okay. Getting it? Now let's say that we have to write a Jenkins job, Jenkins Groovy script to create a Jenkins job. Okay. To create a Jenkins job using Groovy. Okay. In that case, you will write like this. You'll define the Groovy. Okay. You can remove this stuff here. Just write import Jenkins model. Okay. You define import Jenkins model, import freestyle project because you have to do a freestyle project. So these libraries, and if you have to perform some tasks, shell. Now you will call this method which will create a job with the job name. You build this method using this. Job is saved. Okay, save the job. Now next is what, that you have to schedule the build. So you have scheduled a build and you are going to get the build.get. So this will create a Jenkins job into the server. Now let's say that so there is one more thing. Yeah. So let's say that if you have a Slack notification, okay, and you have to do that. So for that Slack notification, great. Groovy is like looks like this. Okay, now here okay, now here you see they have defined this node. Okay, this node is there with the agent label. We have a stage which is preparation. Now git branch, git configuration details are there. It says run deployment before test equal to true, mean this is what, this is some parameter, okay, through which it is pulling up the variable. And then it is again defining few other parameters. So you can, rather than defining the parameters from a job, you can define the parameters from here. And it is trying to run this test. And once it will run, so it will able to find out that whether this is going to help or not. Okay, so this is a little introduction about the Jenkins Groovy part. Okay, now the point is that that which we need to understand is about the Jenkins file. Now with this introduction and with this thing, can anyone tell me what is Jenkins file? Ankit?
Yes, Sachin. According to me, it's a single file which consists of whole pipeline setup, like how our code, like how our code will flow. Like first it will build, then it will like pass the some tests. After that, it will deploy like that.
Okay. Uh, any other thing by anyone? Now, the $1 million question: what is Jenkins file? Jenkins file is nothing. It's a normal text file, right? Which you check in from your code, which can be written with two aspects. One is scripted pipeline, another one is declarative pipeline. Now, when you talk about the scripted pipeline are what? Those are nothing which are stored in a Jenkins web UI. Okay, and you write it in a Groovy. You write it in a Groovy, like this, like the uh, okay. You write it like this. Means you define the node for the scripted pipeline and you write this. Declarative pipeline is something which will basically define your syntax and those things. Okay, with make sure that it's above the scripted pipeline. So for that you define your agent and everything, and you start over with this. So it will be, yeah, it will be basically like this. Okay, this is stage, welcome step, lambda, AWS, and this will be done. Now, so we recommend, like I recommend to use a VS Code ID here, okay, for Jenkins pipeline code and these things, okay. Now the point is that how can you run your Jenkins pipeline, okay, or how can you run your declarative pipeline, okay. So to run your declarative pipeline, okay, see the class session. Now, Ankit, can you share your screen?
Sachin, please allow me to share. I'm unable to share.
Done. I have done. Now just click on new item, right? First pipeline project, and choose a style as a pipeline, okay, not a freestyle project, because you are creating a pipeline. So remember this, guys, if you are creating a pipeline, choose a style as a pipeline, not a freestyle project. Now, so see, this guy has configured Jira actually, so that's why it is giving you him the Jira integration and those things. But just go to this advanced project options. Yep, and this is the pipeline script, right? Here you have to write your pipeline. Here you have to write your pipeline, right? So you can copy paste this one which I pasted in the chat window. So this is where you configure the pipeline. Okay, you have configured. Click build now. If you have copied that code, click build now. Yes, just see the console output of this. Okay, good. Welcome to Lambda AWS team. And you see, it says print text, whatever you wanted to do, and echoes this, right? This all happens where on your Jenkins server. In our case, it's on a local machine. So it is taking your command prompt and it is running there. Clear? So far clear? How can we create a declarative pipeline or scripted pipeline? Now, if I talk about a declarative pipeline, guys, right? If I talk about a declarative pipeline, so like this only, we will be going to create a declarative pipeline. Now, in declarative pipeline, we have to define each and everything in the steps, the parameters, and those steps. Okay. So let's say put this thing for a declarative pipeline syntax. Okay, remove the copy this in that in the pipeline, create a new job, create a new job, create a new item, and get. Give second pipeline project, choose the other pipeline. I'm speaking on mute from long time. Sorry. I pasted something in the chat window. Just put that here.
This one only, Sachin, right?
Yeah, just remove the numbers.
Yeah, I removed it. Okay.
Removed. Hold on. Now in that, go to back to the configure. Don't be in a hurry. Come down. Yeah. Now here, guys, see this. This is very important to understand. Okay. Now here, the initially once you start your declarative pipeline, you write what? You write your pipeline block. Okay, it's a mandatory block. Then you specify the agent. Okay, that where the Jenkins build job should run. Okay, the agent pipeline. Getting it? Then you define what you define the possible values. Like if agent has to be run on any, so it will define on any ways, run on any available agent. If it has to run on nothing, so you will write none. Okay. If there is some agent specifically, then you can write label, means you can define label and you can give the name of the agent. However, next is the stages. Stages, we already know the stage block contains the actual execution steps. Okay, so stage block has to be defined within those stages blocks and these things. Then is the steps, and the steps are what? Which are the actual build step. Okay, then comes the parameter. Means if you have to provide a parameter for anyone, so you how will you do that? Like string, text, boolean choice, and these things. So for that we do this. Now run this job, build this job. See, it says hello, brand choice master, sonar password is null, and job details is this or this. Means it is would be triggering from somewhere else, but this is how you configure, you create your jobs and you put it up. Any questions? Okay, no problem. If no questions. Now See, now the point is, Ankit, create a new job and copy paste this. I've sent you one thing over the Zoom chat. This script block does what? It says that your parameters are string and choice only. Okay, name and gender. Okay. Now, if you have to print those, if you have to print the value of your parameters, so how will you call them? So you can call them using a method known as params. Okay, using a method known as params.name, params.gender. And it says that if gender is equal to male, then apply Mr. else apply echo. Okay. Now run this job.
What is params here?
That is a keyword again.
Okay.
So this is wrong, right? Because you have to build with the parameters, right? If you don't give the value of a parameter, in case, how will you get the things done? Go to the configuration of a job. Not there. Above, go into build trigger. Yep, in build trigger. You see this project is in, there is above one option. This project is parameterized. Yep. You see this? It is already created, right? Now apply and save this. Why you are not getting build with parameter option? Whether you are getting it? Anyone else who is practicing it, are you guys getting build with parameter?
Yeah, I'm getting such.
You are getting? Show Ankit, why you are not getting that? Go back to job.
Yeah.
Means save this and come out. Yeah, it is there na, build with parameters.
Mhm.
Click there. Right, Ankit. So you see, guys, now we hold on, Ankit. Now you see this, that most of the time there would be the scenario where you will be asking your end user some questions, right? And then accordingly you will be creating a job, correct? When you have this much requirements in these things. Let's say if you have to copy some file only. So for that file also, you will ask, right, what is the file? Okay, how does that file is created and these things. So for those only these parameters are important, not just build this job. Now, as soon as you build this job, so what will happen, that it will go to the console output of this. Now you see it says Mrs. Ankit, okay, because he has chosen the option as a female there. So it will do this kind, whatever the output and whatever things are there, it will do that. So like this, you can call your things from the Jenkins file. Clear? Okay, I'm just looking for other things. Now we did see in the last session about the Maven and all those things, right? Ankit, Maven we saw, right? Yes, last session.
Yes, Sachin. Yeah.
The Maven and those things we already saw that, so that is okay. Okay. Now what next? So yeah, so Jenkins pipeline we talked about. Okay, we talked about the Jenkins pipeline, declarative, scripted. We talked about that how to create a pipeline and those things, and we talked about the different use cases and these stuff. Now, also we saw that here that how this pipeline is created. Getting it, guys? Now, with the manage Jenkins, you can go and you can manage the users and those everything. Okay, you can go and you can manage the users and these things. Also, there is a plugin known as role-based strategy plugin. Okay, role-based strategy plugin. That plugin is doing nothing, but that plugin will basically go and like one is this matrix authorization plugin. Yeah, one is this role-based authorization strategy. Means this will run the things based on the role assigns. Okay, this is based on the roles assigned in the Jenkins. Like for developer, the whatever the developer roles are there, for the admin there is whatever the roles are there, so for that will be there. So accordingly those roles will be configured, and for those things it will work. Okay, now there is one of the use case here. Okay, that use case is pretty well and pretty clear, that what you will be doing, that now try to create some project in GitHub, try to spin up some AWS EC2 instance, or not if AWS EC2 instance, at least do something where it can launch some website or some page or something using a Tomcat. So create a Python application, pull that code from GitHub, okay, push it into the AWS server using Jenkins, and write and copy that code into that the AWS server, and then what? Yep, and then just launch that website from there. So you can unmute if you have any doubt here. I just put up this requirement here. Okay. So DevOps course. So write a Jenkins file to pull a Python web application from GitHub, host it on AWS EC2, and run the application from EC2. Okay. Second is create a Jenkins job where it will populate the user values or the param options from the DB. Create your own local DB and create a table named as employee and insert some values in it to test. This is your assignment for Jenkins. If you are able to do this, it is going to help you to a larger extent. Getting it? And you can stop share. Guys, getting it? Unmute yourself and speak. Don't worry about that.
Yes.
Anyone has any problem on the use case? I'll put on the folder also. Don't worry. Anyone has any problem on that? So with Jenkins, with Jenkins, we define the we have discussed about two things. Okay, the first is about the Jenkins pipeline, about the second is about the Groovy script, and the third one is the overview of all the Jenkins. Now again, there are some of the other things with respect to Jenkins, like the security, like the other kind of plugins and the things, but for now I will be stopping on Jenkins here to hold on, so that we can use the Ansible and Docker also together with the Jenkins, and then work on further things. Now, the reason why, because we want to do the Jenkins, we want to do the end-to-end DevOps, right? So for that, the writing pipeline is very important, because if you know how to write pipeline or how to make this use case, you can do anything. So try to do these use cases which I have told you, and those will going to help you further. You can take other use cases also, like to copy over the file from the local to any of the server. Okay, that how can you copy that also? So you can take any of those kind of use cases also. Take a basic use cases, write your Groovy script on your own, and just put it across the Jenkins job and test it out. Okay, now this is one thing. Second thing is that don't like forget to attend the class tomorrow, because tomorrow is test, so I don't want it if anyone is absent. Everyone should be there in the class. Okay, now before that, any questions, anything from the Jenkins? Okay, I'll assume the silence as no.